Offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach Dave Patenaude will put the questions for Coach Patenaude.
Coach, you mentioned the competition is keen. Tell us what the quarterback room is like now with the new guys and joining Jordan and.
Well, I mean, you can't help but notice that they're imposing guys. When you look in the room, it looks a little bit different. The guys have great size and they have good pedigrees coming out of high school. But that remains to be seen when you get down to college campus. The great thing about those guys is they've pushed the envelope for the older guys to have to study and really understand what they're doing. And conversely, the older guys have done a great job of teaching the young guys. So it's a good room. It's a very cohesive bunch of guys. They understand that only one guy is going to be on the field at one time, and everybody's kind of pulling for each other. They're all really competitive guys. They really do a great job of trying to help each other understand, study, watch tape, push each other that way. So, competition is king around here, and that's what we're trying to create in every position.
You have sort of two types of quarterbacks. You have the two kind of freaky guys, and Jeff and James, and then Jordan and Tucker seem more of like the kind of traditional, kind of gamers, understanding the game, that kind of thing. Is that kind of how you see them, or is it a little more complicated than that?
No, I mean, I would hope that all four of them could do both. That's what we kind of try to recruit, is guys that are good athletes that can stand in the pocket and throw it. James's ability to throw in the pocket is way better than it was last year, just simply from an understanding standpoint. And then, Jeff is really good athletically, obviously, but he's capable of being both. And Tucker's great on tape. All those guys are good at being able to do both. In this offense, you have to be able to run and throw. We saw James pull one on a zone read and went 65 yards down the sideline with one, and guys are throwing touchdown passes. So it's a good group, it's a good mix, but we'll never have one guy that can just do one thing. I mean, that just makes you so limited offensively. So we're trying to develop them on both ends.
James, today on the 7-7 down here, he had some really nice throws downfield and yards. What does that mean exactly at this point?
That means it was an awesome throw, an awesome read, and the biggest development with those guys is their understanding of what we're doing. I mean, we are, I don't even know what the percentage is, 2 million% better than we were at this time last year. Just from an understanding, of what we're doing and where to go with the ball and what defenses are doing and, how to manipulate the defense and those type of things. And when you have the confidence of understanding, you could just go back and play, know where the ball's going to go and let it rip. I mean, they're all really talented guys, but when you can eliminate doubt in your mind as a quarterback, that's the key. And right now they're playing at a really high level.
I guess going off of that, what were some things that you were doing at this point last year that you're not having to do at this point this year?
Teach everything, teach football, teach coverage, fronts, how to adjust coverages, how to adjust protections, what does this formation do? How do people align to this formation? I mean, it was like ground zero, grassroots football at this time last year. Just a general understanding of formations and just base concepts of passes and how to check runs and how to check. Right now, I mean, the guys are, they're coming up. They're sliding protections. They're, adjusting the runs. They're checking. We might have checked, maybe half of the practice today. So their overall development and understanding of what we're doing has grown so much that now they can have more and more on their plate.
Does that understanding allow you to do more with the offense than maybe you could last year?
No, absolutely. I mean, at this point last year, we probably had maybe a third of what we have in right now for day two. And the understanding for our guys is, listen, man, at any point in any of these practices, I should be able to call any play in our playbook and we should be able to run it. So last year we were just like, okay, if we're in 2x2, this is what we call it, and this is where you line up. These are your base alignments. Now they just run out there and get lined up, and our base stuff is, the execution has been really good. I think there was only 2 or 3 mental busts the whole time on Tuesday. That practice, that number one practice last spring, we might have had 10 plays where we didn't have a bust. So, I mean, we're light years ahead of where we were.
In terms of the spread aspect of the offense, last year you had to play a lot of tight ends just to kind of make up for deficiency of the offensive line. But now you have more guys back. You have some transfers coming in and some young guys as well. Kind of, does that allow you to be more flexible in terms of what you're doing and not have to be so tight end heavy?
With our guys up front?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you just take a look at the guys, if you took a before and after picture of the guys even the guys that are back now. I mean, when we came in day one last year, our first practice in the spring, Zach Quinney was our starting left tackle at 262 pounds. Now he weighs with 305. I mean, they've done an amazing job. You know, Luke Carella does an amazing job with those guys, just putting on weight, understanding that is how to put on good weight. Their strength gains are really good. You know, we were talking earlier, Ryan Johnson, you know, solidifying, you know, in there as a transfer at right guard. I mean, the guy's 6'5", 310 pounds. You know, big people move little people. I mean, that's just a basic principle of football, right? So, you know, we look a lot different, and when their understanding is a lot different, then they play a lot faster. So, you know, it doesn't look like it did last year because guys just understand more. They play faster. They're on guys better. There's not as many guys getting cut loose, and you know the ones that you know were kind of getting cut loose today were some of the younger guys. You know, we have 3 freshman offensive line in there, you know, with the second group. So you know sometimes they go the wrong way. Well, that's going to happen when you're in your first part of the season. But those guys up front allow you to do a lot of different things, and you know we'll just keep building on that.
It looked like Jeff had most of the time with the C's today. Were you kind of alternate that with him and Tucker? How were you?
So Tucker threw a bomb in practice to end the practice on Tuesday,
right.
And he was jogging down. He rolled his ankle, so he was limited today.
Okay.
You know, I said, "What were you doing? Jumping up and down and you know celebrating your first college touchdown?" He's like, "No, I was just running and I rolled an ankle." And I was like, "Dude, you need a better story than that." Like you went down and dunked on somebody or something. You can't just say you roll your ankle running down there. But yeah, they'll be in, and then we mix both of those guys. All 4 of those guys really were rolling through today. Jordan Yates went with the 1 group, and James was with the 2s, and they kind of mix in, and we'll just keep mixing those guys in. I mean, it's the amount of reps that we get in a practice is exhausting to begin with, so you know they're not missing out on anything.
With Jeff and Tucker, what are some things, not football-wise, that the general public need to know about who they are?
Maturity, football background. You know, those guys are like the equivalents of gym rats. If they were basketball guys, they'd be gym rats. You know what I mean? I never had to call them to say, "Hey, you know, the film's up. Hey, you know, I'll be around later." You know, they're sponges. They want to absorb as much information as they possibly can. They're in there all the time. You know, those. You know, I'm at the point where I'm like, "Dude, do you ever go to class? I mean, what are you guys doing?" And they're like, they would literally go to class, go eat, come back and watch tape. Go eat, come back and watch tape. And they would be in there at 4:30 in the afternoon. They'd be there at 9 o'clock in the morning, just trying to absorb as much information as they possibly can. And it really shows because there's been no slow down. This is, hey, the young guys are in, and we're going to run like the base play. I mean, they're checking runs, they're checking passes. And we just basically push them off the end of the dock and get in the deep water, and you got to learn how to swim. And that's the really cool thing right now is we're not slowing down for anybody. I mean, the tempo of our practices is unbelievable, and you know we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, keep adding more and more in. And there's going to be some mistakes, but I mean we're playing pretty clean football.
Yates is a guy who got thrown into the fire, you know, basically had just fall camp, and then he ended up as your backup quarterback at the very end of the season. Kind of what have you seen from him in terms of both absorbing the offense and kind of his competitiveness?
Yeah,
so
I mean,
far?
both of those things are off the charts. You know, off the charts. He is really, really smart. He's a football guy. He loves football. I mean, I could see him being a football coach. I mean, that's how his mind works. You know, he wants to know all of the nuances. He wants to know why we're running something. He doesn't just run out there and say, "Hey, we're running this, you know, this 4 vertical scheme or whatever." He wants to know why are we calling that against that defense. You know, his preparation is tremendous. He had a great off-season workout, and he's ultra competitive. Really, all of those guys are ultra competitive. And you know, going back to that last question, those 2 young guys got into the winter workouts and they attacked them. And you know, the first day Jeff went out there, and he was kind of like shell-shocked a little bit about what was going on. And we were giving him the business about, you know, hey, you better be ready to go. You better, you know. And then after that, those guys were killers. I mean, they went out there and, you know, they would pick up that rope and go tug of war, you know, and there was no hesitation by either one of those guys to pick the rope up. And, you know, they would go, you know, they're going after really good players. You know, they're going against, linebackers and guys that are, you know, established guys. They were going against Tariq. They were going against Jerry Howard. guys, because they're bigger guys, right? So they're bigger matchups against some of those established guys. So, their work ethic and the tenacity in that group is really, really good.
Now that James and Jordan have the experience from last season under their belt, how have you seen them both kind of enter the spring with a little bit more confidence?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, understanding and knowledge creates confidence, right? And as a quarterback, when you're confident in what you're doing and you're not looking around trying to figure out what's going on, and you've shrunk all of that information into a small box, then you can play really fast. So their development and their understanding is so far from what it was even at the end of last year. I mean, they did an unbelievable job of working. They would come in every day, and for an hour and a half I'd be sitting there hanging out and doing what I'm doing, and they'd come in there and they'd be watching tape, and they'd come in on their own. It was no, hey, you guys got to be there at this time. They'd come in on their own and they'd say, hey, coach, what's this? And we would talk about that, and then the four of those guys would just sit there and hash it out. And then the really cool thing is, Ryan Lance and Liam Byrne, the two walk-on guys in that room also, and they are uber smart football guys. So they're helping the younger guys. So all 6 guys are kind of chopping it up, going back and forth. And now those guys have such more understanding of what we're doing. And when you play with confidence, with the quarterbacks, you always talk about play with your feet on the ground, right? Don't be bouncing around just get your feet in the ground, understand what you're doing, and let the ball rip. And I think, for the most part, we've done that over the first couple of days.
With your two back sets, other than Jordan, how are the other running backs progressing?
That's a really, really good group. You love the running back question, man. That's your question. You love that group. We're going to be able to. We might put 5 out there for you. They're really good. They're a really good group, man. You have the guys that are here, and then you have a really special freshman coming in. That's going to be a really deep group of guys. I mean, you can play 5 or 6 of those guys and feel really good about it. I mean, we moved Bruce Jordan Swilling over. I mean, he's an ACC back, you know what I mean? And Dante put on a lot of weight, a lot of strength, a lot more confidence. Devin Ellison is really super. I mean, those are guys that, are not in the limelight as much as, maybe Jemias and JP. But that's a really deep group, and really fun for me to be able to, find ways to use that, personnel grouping. And they're all grown in their understanding now. So it's not just that you have to play them in the backfield. You can play them in the slot. You can motion them around, and they're all really good athletes. So, finding them touches is going to be, a fun challenge.
What were your thoughts when Jordan and Bruce wanted to switch?
I mean, Bruce has always said, hey, I'm a running back coach. Hey, I'm a running back coach. I mean, it's like, all right, cool. Let's come in and, let's see what you're doing and, how you can do it. And it was funny. We put it. And ultimately, you have to kind of just feel, what those guys are feeling and say, hey, I want my shot to be able to do that. We said, look, we'll give you a shot to do what you can do, and we'll make an evaluation. And it'll be a true evaluation. If you can help us, then, we'll find a role for you. We'll stick you in there and you'll do great things. If not, then you need to play linebacker or wherever it is. And it's kind of that way with a lot of guys on the team. You know what I mean? You kind of look at guys and like, all right, Jerry Howard, was playing running back. Now he goes over and plays linebacker. Well, there's a fit for him there. And now he's just got to, both of those guys kind of just have to learn the system. So, it's kind of like looking at your roster top to bottom and seeing where the best fits are.
There's big picture when you kind of went back at last year and did your dive on everything.
Yeah.
What were some of the kind of key takeaways of here's how we can get better and here's what we should have done better last year?
I mean, we were top to bottom. We needed to get better across the board. I thought at the end of the year, we ran the ball well. I thought James handled the run game well. I thought we were really explosive and diverse in what we were doing in the run game with the reads and the bubbles and all of those type of things. We did not throw the football well at all. We had to put a lot of emphasis on that. It starts up front with the protections and the quarterback's understanding, wideouts catching the ball and that type of thing. So we put a lot of emphasis on our pass game. Historically, we've been really, really good throwing the ball. We've set numerous records throwing the ball, and that was disappointing. Our competitiveness was really good. Our toughness was good. We just needed to, be able to fine tune a lot of those things. And then we needed to play faster. When we came back and we looked at it, we just got bogged down so much playing, on our heels too much. So we want to be an up-tempo attacking offense that's a multiple spread attacking, fun, type of offense. And I thought we kind of lost our personality with that a little bit. And then we have to do a better job on, not being 3-0. I mean, we were terrible statistically in the country being 3-0. And, the goal is get 1 first down. If you can get 1 first down, you're going to move the chain. If you can get 2 first downs per possession, you're not always going to score, right? If you get the ball 12, 13 times, you score 5 times, right? You're scoring 35-ish a game with just 5 possessions. You're going to get 12 or 13. So that means you're going to have to punt the ball at some point, but we want to be able to have the ability to kick the ball. We want to be able to possess the ball. So we did a pretty good job of not turning the ball over, but if you have to punt, that's fine, you have to punt, but get a couple first downs, move the chain, move the field, and then punt. We got an All-American punter, let the kid go knock the ball down inside the 10, and then start over again, and then play the field position game. I just felt like we were too much, 3-and-out, 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 and then we were putting the defense in a bad position. So, those are some of the things that we talked about early on this spring.
One last one here.
Jalen Camp was a guy that you didn't really get to see a healthy version of last year, but it seems like he's rebuilt his body again, and he looked phenomenal the first 2 days out there.
He's phenomenal. I mean, I don't know. They must have put some kind of bionic thing in his leg. His fitness level is incredible. He's always been a really jacked up dude, really good looking dude. But his lower half on how he's moving, his movement patterns are exceptional, and he's so strong that when you try to put your hands on him, he could throw you off. But now his footwork matches his frame. So if you try to get off of him and jump back off of him, he can dance and make you miss. So he can play with power or with quickness. And he's always been exceptional, being able to hang on to the line and go get the deep ball and that type of thing. But, just his overall quickness and really, again, his understanding of what we're doing is allowing him to play so much quicker. Like this time last year, we would say, hey, we're running Patriot. And they'd be like, oh, what's Patriot again? What's Patriot again? And then the ball would be snapped because we're trying to play fast. Now we yell Patriot and everybody just gets lined up and they're confident in what they're doing and they're able to go. So, it's not only a physical thing, but it's an emotional, mental thing that these guys are, playing so much faster than they did this time last year.